Hey YouTube, welcome back. We're watching What Did Ancient Humans Do All Day Before Jobs Existed?
You wake up when your body is ready. No
Yeah.
alarm, no schedule, no place you need to be. You sit up.
Before we didn't have jobs, we had my guess is we sat together in a circle like back in like school and we told each other stories. That's my guess.
What should I do today? For 99%
Yes.
of human history, this wasn't a hypothetical. This was every single morning for roughly 300,000 years. And the answer to that question looked nothing like the life you're living right now. Modern humans spend about 90,000 hours of their lives working.
That is so true. That is a fact. I think I work more than that though. I be working 24/7 every day.
Roughly 1/3 of your waking existence dedicated to a job. But for the overwhelming majority of human history, jobs didn't exist. There was no employment, no wages, no boss, no career ladder to climb. So what did people actually do all day? Let's start with what we know for certain. In 1963, archaeologist Richard Lee conducted a...
This guy is from 1963. Did we have cameras that had color back then? This guy looks pretty like... This does not look like a 1963 photo. Weird. Anyways,
a study that would change how we understand prehistoric life. He tracked the daily activities of the Dobeju Hwansi people in Botswana, one of the few remaining groups.
I mean, we had hunters or gatherers, duh. Like, that's clearly what happened back in the day.
Living in a way that resembles pre-agricultural human life. He found that adults spent about 2.5 days per week acquiring food. That's roughly 17 hours.
17 hours?
They did whatever they wanted. And here's the important
part. What was their entertainment? Like dancing, singing?
This pattern shows up everywhere anthropologists look. The Hadza in Tanzania, the ache in Paraguay, the martu in Australia. Completely different environments, different continents. Same result. About 15 to 20 hours per week spent on survival activities. For context... people
would just want to survive. Absolutely.
Probably work twice that. Now, some of you are thinking, but those are modern people. How do we know ancient humans lived the same way? Fair question. And the answer comes from bones. When archaeologists compare skeletons...
Of course, the bones tell you the entire history. I wish I was into that. You know, like there's like people who have like really obscure interests. Like, I'm a rock collector. I'm into bones. I like... planets, and me, I'm just a weeb. I'm just a weeb. I don't have anything else I'm interested in or I know too well.
Ancient humans to early agricultural populations, the difference is dramatic. Farmers were shorter. Their bones show signs of nutritional deficiency.
Aww, that makes me sad. Because the farmers are the most important part of the trade. Like, they are the ones who are farming and getting everybody food, so... them having the poorest conditions suck.
They had arthritis in their spines from repetitive labor, and they died younger. Ancient human skeletons, taller, stronger, healthier teeth, less joint damage. Their bones tell a clear story. They were doing less repetitive physical labor, not more. But the most fascinating evidence comes from something archaeologists found that shouldn't exist if survival was a constant struggle. Art.
What?
In 1994, explorers discovered Chauvet Cave in southern France. Inside were paintings created roughly 30,000 years ago. Horses, lions, rhinoceroses, rendered with perspective, shading, and movement. These weren't crude stick figures. This was sophisticated art that required skill, planning, and most importantly, time. Someone spent hours...
That's awesome. So there was an artist back then.
Maybe days, deep inside a cave by firelight, painting animals on a wall.
Yeah, so the artist was part of... Back in the day, would just do some art. We still have artists these days too.
For survival, not for food, for beauty, for meaning, for something to do. In Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found 100,000-year-old perforated shell beads, tiny holes drilled through seashells, clearly meant to be strung together as jewelry. The nearest...
Oh, that's so cute. So there was people who like also did like art back then.
Coastline was 20 kilometers away. Someone walked 40 kilometers round trip just to collect shells, then spent hours carefully drilling holes with stone tools, just to look good. In 2008,
did they draw Nightcore thumbnails? I don't know.
40,000-year-old flute carved from a vulture bone in Germany. 5 finger holes, perfectly spaced. Whoever made this understood music. They understood
pitch. They even had musicians. They're so freaking talented back then.
And they spent significant time crafting it.
The
not
flute.
For hunting, not for defense, for music. These aren't isolated finds. Across Europe, Africa, and Asia, archaeological sites from 100,000 years ago onward are filled with evidence of decorative objects. Carefully crafted tools far more elaborate than necessary for survival, and items that required hours of focused work with no immediate practical benefit. This is what people did when they weren't securing food. They created. They decorated. They made things beautiful.
They're creative. We're creative people. Yeah.
Today, they had wake up around.
They had hobbies back then.
Dawn. The fire from last night is still smoldering. Someone adds wood. You eat leftover meat or fish from yesterday.
Yum.
Maybe some nuts or berries collected the day before. Breakfast is social.
Yum.
People talk. They plan loosely for the day. Not because they have to, because that's what humans do. Around mid-morning, a small group might leave to hunt or gather. But here's the key. You don't go every day. If the hunt was successful 2 days ago and food is stored, you might not leave camp at all. You might spend the morning working on tools, sharpening a spear, weaving a basket, scraping an animal hide to make it soft.
Yeah, basically a bunch of hobbyists stuck together and like worked together on a, I guess like a civilization.
This isn't work in the modern sense. There's no clock.
There's no clock. They didn't have to time in or time out.
Because competence matters. Because being skilled earns respect. Because making things well is part of being human. If hunting...
Yeah, that is true.
Happens,
that is how hunter-gatherers... Yeah, the humans will always be humans.
Frantic chase you see in movies. Humans are persistence hunters. We track animals at a steady jog for hours until they overheat and collapse. We're the only species that can do this effectively because we can sweat and regulate our body temperature while running. Most animals can't. So we outlast them. The hunt might take 3 to 6 hours, including travel. Then the animal is carried back and butchered. Everyone eats. And by early afternoon, the productive part of the day is essentially over. What happens next is what modern people find hardest to understand. Nothing. And
nothing. Yeah. What do you do when there's nothing to do?
People rest. They sit in the shade and talk. They play with children. They groom each other, picking through hair, reinforcing bonds.
That's nice.
They make jewelry from shells or beads or animal teeth. They carve designs into bones or stones.
This is cozy.
They nap. Anthropologist James Sussman documented that among the Zhuhuanzi, adults spend roughly 6 hours per day in what he called social time. Not working.
I like
sleeping,
that. I wish we had that every day. Social time.
Being with other people, talking, laughing, telling jokes, because in a world without money or police or written contracts, your survival depends entirely on your relationships.
Because it's like you're just like your community of people chilling together.
Don't like you, they don't have to share food when you're hungry. So you invest enormous amounts of time in those bonds, not because it's productive, because it's how humans stay human. Then the sun sets, and this is when something remarkable happens. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner analyzed hundreds of hours of conversation recordings from the Zhuhuanzi. During the day, conversations were practical. Who saw
I like how this guy can pronounce the tribes. Very respectful.
Where? Which plants were ready for harvest? Complaints about someone not sharing fairly. But at night, around the fire, 81% of conversations shifted to stories. Myths about how the world began.
Yeah, they're like storytellers. They had their own social media, which was storytelling.
Tales of ancestors who did impossible things, jokes that made everyone laugh, adventures from far away. Wiesner argued that this is where human culture was actually born. Gods, spirits, the past, the future. Things you can only think about when your stomach is full and you're safe. And people didn't go to sleep and stay asleep the way you do now. Historical records from medieval Europe and sleep studies from the 1990s confirmed that before artificial light, humans slept in 2 phases. First sleep for about 4 hours, then a wakeful period of 1 to 2 hours in complete darkness, then second sleep for another 4 hours.
So they had like 2 sleeps in their day, huh?
Here's what a full day looked like. About 4 to 6 hours securing food or making tools. About 6 hours in social interaction, storytelling, grooming, playing. About 8 hours sleeping in 2 separate phases, and the rest resting, sitting, watching clouds, doing nothing in particular. Existing without needing to justify your existence through productivity. Then, about 10,000 years ago, something changed. Humans in the Fertile Crescent began planting seeds and domesticating animals.
Yay! And this is where cats are domesticated, right? And dogs, cats and dogs.
Culture. And agriculture is a trap. Once you start farming, you can feed more people.
Yeah.
More people means you need more food.
Yeah.
More food means more farming. Within a few generations,
So then the population booms.
Exploded and there was no going back. Because now there were too many mouths to survive by hunting and gathering.
Yeah.
You were locked in. And farming required far more labor. Plowing, planting, weeding, harvesting, storing, defending crops from animals and raiders. The skeletal evidence is unambiguous. Early farmers worked harder, ate worse, and died younger than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. But the population kept growing, and with larger populations came specialists, toolmakers, potters,
doctors, lawyers, VTubers,
weavers, inventors, then soldiers, priests, administrators, and eventually jobs. Employment. The idea that your time belonged to someone else in exchange for resources. By the time we built cities, the original human lifestyle was gone, replaced by schedules, obligations, the need to work most of your waking hours just to survive in the system we created. Today, you spend 90,000 hours working. Your ancestors spent way less. You sleep in one block and call waking up at 2 a.m. insomnia. They slept in 2 phases and used the middle hours for reflection. You spend your life chasing an illusion of greatness, achievements, wealth, and success by standards society invented. They woke up every morning already free, already enough, and at peace with nothing to prove to anyone. They didn't need to become successful.
They're so lucky they had so much. Not VTubers, that's the modern day. That's the joke, Hero Blaze. That's the joke.
You're already living the life you're working your entire existence to retire into. You make art if you can find time after your job. They made art because they had time, and that's what humans do. We're not a different species, but we live so differently from how humans lived for 99% of our existence that we might as well be. We traded freedom for food security, leisure for population growth, time for productivity, and most of us have no idea what we gave up, because we never knew it was there.
That's crazy. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. That was very informative. See you in the next one.